Welcome to Whitetail Rendezvous Podcast. This is Bruce Hutchin, host and executive producer. Each week, you will hear tips, techniques, strategies, and personal stories from some of the best and funniest whitetail hunters in North America. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you do, tell a friend on social media. If not, tell me and I'll make it better. Thanks for listening, folks. This is Whitetail Rendezvous, episode number 416. It's a pleasure to have Tom Addleman on the show today, and he's the founder of DirtNap Gear. And he has a passion for the outdoors. He has a passion for bow hunting, and he's been able to hunt throughout the world. And one of the things he was challenged always, he just couldn't find the right broadhead. So he created one, and he created it with his friend Mike Osborne, and they're right there in the Kansas City area. They developed a blade that has won national acclaim. And the biggest thing, take this to note, folks, he's built the business basically on social media. And what you folks have told him, he's taken some of the ideas and incorporated in his broadheads. And the power of social media is huge. And if you like the show, tell a friend and let's get Tom some coverage because he's a heck of a guy. He's got a great product and he tells a great story. Welcome to another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous. This is your host, Bruce Hutchin. We're heading out to Kansas City, and we're going to meet with Tom Addleman. And Tom is an attorney, a practicing attorney, but he's the founder of DirtNap Gear. Tom, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Bruce. I appreciate you allowing to have me on today. I'm pretty excited.
And folks, in my prior life, I used to call on people like Tom or attorneys like Tom, and that's how I made my living. So it's kind of fun to get back into the attorney's office and talk a little about Westlaw. If you don't know what that is, it doesn't matter. But having said that, DirtNap line or gear, let's talk about that and how you get started because that'll help us get through the whitetail portion of the show.
You bet. I've always been a big outdoorsman and hunter, and I was able to, there for a while, pre-kids, I was traveling quite a bit internationally to do some big game hunts and then a lot of just obviously whitetail as much as I could, everywhere I could. And, like everybody else, you think you know what you want or what you want in a broadhead, and there's some things that I wanted that weren't out there. So just kind of started designing a few things and came up with our line of DirtNap gear broadheads. There's a DRT and the BMF, but in Bruce in its cleanest form, what the difference in ours is ours is a fixed blade broadhead. It's Teflon coated and it's got a lifetime warranty. But the big thing we offer that I always wanted, and I'm surprised no one else has done, is it's called a modular weight system. And so you can shoot our broadhead as 100 grains, or you put this little patented collar we got on it. You screw that on the back and it makes it a 125. So your guy can, whether he's hunting whitetail or elk, or he wants to mess with his front and center, it gives them some versatility there. So that's one of the real cool things we got going with that.
Sounds like you got a broadhead that's very adaptable. And when you think about hunting whitetail, I know you hunt in Missouri and Kansas, and big body deer in both those places. What weight blade do you think works best? I know what I shoot, but I want to know what you think.
Well, I tell you, I'm a mix of old school and new school. I shoot 125 out of most all my stuff just because I like a little more front and center for a little bit longer shot, and I just like the way they always talk about it flying like a dart versus a pencil, and I like to have a little more front and center. I think it makes it a little more forgiving, and frankly I like the kinetic energy too. Not that I would take a questionable shot, but especially if you needed to on a follow up or something, be able to really thump through and penetrate well is what really our broadhead's all about, and that's what I like. So I'm a 125 guy. To get to the point, Bruce.
I used to when I was shooting a compound, I don't anymore because of new parts of my body. So I shoot a crossbow and I shoot 100 grains right now. But I used to shoot Rocky Mountain Supremes, and they were 125, three bladed, and they had a lot of kinetic energy. Let's spend just a couple of seconds on kinetic energy and what it really means, because we got some mass, and we got some speed, and we got some weight. So what does all that mean, and why is that important to all us hunters?
Well, I think it's important because and I'm not, we make to full disclosure, a hybrid that has expandable portions of it. And so I'm not dogging on that, but what we get into sometimes is an expandable will lose so much energy when it's opening, and that will really hinder not only your penetration but your energy on carrying through. And so that's what I like about a fixed blade or even a hybrid is it tends to carry that momentum because it's not losing energy when it strikes the animal as far as opening blades or anything of that nature. So I guess in its cleanest form, it's like it just keeps energy and motion stays in motion. And when you lose energy through mechanical parts or through opening or closing of different things, you're automatically slowing your energy and your penetration. So
So, is there a foot pounds that you should look for in any kind of broadhead that you're shooting? Kinetic energy equals X.
not necessarily. I would say they're obviously dependent on the game, but if we're mostly whitetail, which is the majority of our guys. I mean, we do sell a big heavy head for dangerous game, 150 grain all steel and 175. But for our normal or most of our audiences are whitetail, I like to see more that their spine matches their draw weight and their arrow, the grain weight on the tip, and making sure that equation all equals out. And I think unfortunately that's become something that's kind of getting lost a little bit on some of the. And I'm not dogging our younger guys, but they may not understand what a 300 spine is or 500 spine is or 340 and how that relates to and the weight on the end and how that can change the whole dynamic of your arrow flight. And so to get round back to it, I think it's important that all those things match up and you get a true straight arrow and the way that it's going to fly leaving the bow. So if a guy wants to shoot 125 grains out front, he needs to understand that that's going to be like a heavy weight on a stick that's out there. It's going to get more wobble in it. Where if you shoot 100 grains on the same arrow, it's going to be more stiff, and so you're not going to have near as much give in it. And that's going to change the characteristics of the flight and the way your arrows respond. So at the end of the day, I do think it's great to have a lot of good kinetic energy and have a lot of weight and momentum and all that going for you. But I'm more in making sure that the whole package works together in the way it's supposed to.
Now, when you go to a pro shop, don't they help you, figure out the spine and figure out the weight and the grams and everything so you
They,
can?
they should. That's the problem. I think. I think a lot of it anymore is your mom and dad, your mom and pop pro shop are kind of going at it. Unfortunately, with the way this transition economy is, that they're just few and far between, and we see it every day because we still deal with a lot of dealers, and we're increasing our distribution network every day. But it's amazing how many of them, unfortunately, in the last I would say 18 to 24 months, have really started to close shop doors. So they should. I mean, I still advise that's the best of all is to go and get professional assistance with it. But if you can't, 20 minutes on YouTube or on the internet figuring out how to at least what should go with what, or frankly, we pride ourselves on. If a guy calls in and says, "I'm pulling 55 pounds with a 28-inch arrow," what do you recommend for a spine on that, and what weight broadhead would you stick on the front? We're more than happy to help a guy with that type of stuff.
And somebody wants to get a hold of you. How would they do that? Because this is a good conversation. A lot of people don't pay any attention to. So how would somebody get a hold of you or your shop?
You bet. We're best. The email is easy. It's info@dirtnapgear.com. So the company is DirtNap Gear, and obviously the web address is all together, dirtnapgear.com. And then we've got 855-859-3478, which is easy enough, 855-859-DIRT, DIRT. So you can't miss that. But yeah, we'd be more than happy to talk with anybody about how to help them get things set up. And we've even done a few informational pieces on our Facebook page and Instagram about the basic paper tuning. I mean, some of these things, some of these terms get thrown around the industry like they're something magical. I mean, we just went into Walmart and bought an $8 clothes rack and a $3 wax paper and hung them up and explained to people how to paper tune because it's the basics. That's the only thing that's really, as much as our sport is growing or the pursuit of hunting is growing and archery and bow hunting and deer hunting in general, some of that information, some of the basic stuff is kind of getting looked over and forgotten about. Because you're right, a guy will walk into an archery store or maybe just mess around on Amazon and like, wow, I like the looks of those. Those look cool. And then I like these arrows over here. And he may not be getting the instruction that he needs to make sure the whole system works together.
And I can remember. I'm not going to date myself, but paper tuning. That's where we started.
Yeah,
That's really where we started.
yeah.
You
If
know,
your arrow's leaving your bow and going all wonky, I mean, it's just like I don't know, like when a car's going fast in a straight line versus when it's going all over the road. I mean, you can't expect an arrow that's spaghetti flaving through the air to do what you want it to do or to hit, no matter what broadhead's in the end of it. Whether you got the latest, greatest expandable or my great fixed blade or a field point. I mean, if your fundamentals aren't there, it's never going to work right.
Yeah. So, folks, on this part of the show, just get your setup right. What does that mean? We'll give DirtNap Gear, a call. Get on the YouTube, get on their social media, and check it out because you'll be surprised. And you might be shooting 300, 380 feet per second, but you can get a better setup if you just spend a little time. We're not talking about all day event. It
Yeah,
doesn't
and it's
take
not.
all day.
I think as a younger guy, I used to think, oh man, I'm not going to tune all that stuff. I don't want to. And it's not that hard. It's just a couple little bit of movement here or there on maybe your rest is a little off center, and so your arrow's not leaving the bow straight. I mean, this stuff isn't rocket science, and I think it's been cool and profitable to say it is for a long time. That it's really not that hard. So
So thanks for that. And
you
let's
bet.
let's stay right there. And one thing you said that's one of your passions in whitetail hunting is kids. What does that mean to you, and what are you doing about it?
Yeah, I've got a. I was fortunate. I've got twin boys that are 6 years old, and I just love taking them out. And yet we've been shed antler hunting since probably they were 2 years old. And every year, at first, I was almost worried I was going to wear them out and they weren't going to enjoy it that much. We did a lot of it on 4-wheeler, but now we're walking and they just love it. They absolutely love that aspect of it. They love helping me now get out there and kind of put in some food plots and all that. We'll talk about it in a second. But I like getting them involved because I was fortunate that my dad took me out at an early age, and he would never really was a big whitetail hunter, but he was small game and rabbits and squirrels, and we spent a lot of time together, and that made a huge impact on me. And I'm trying to do that the same with my kids, and frankly, even through the company, we try to donate a lot of products to young hunters that may or may not have a parental figure that is in the outdoors and understands it. So we kind of frankly allocate a certain amount of our budget to giveaways to help kids and to explain things. And there's so many great programs now that are getting out there, even just archery in the schools, and a lot of these things are helping. But I mean, what I'm getting at is I just think that's such an important thing. Because not only it's cliche, not only is that the future of our sport and our hobby and our passion, because it is, but it's also helping kids because we're in a day and age now where it's easier to get caught in front of a glowing screen, whether that's a computer or whether that's a cell phone or whether that's a video game. Just getting kids outdoors and getting back to the basics is such a valuable experience for them and a rewarding experience for you.
And thanks for that. Do you kids help you now? Are they bow hunters?
Yeah, well, we started off with recurves, and we started real basic little. And there were three. I think they're little bare green fiberglass recurves. We started with those. Now we're up to they're compounds, but they're not much more than wheels on the same on the same bow. And then I've just got them, but their birthday isn't until the end of September. I bought them actual little Hoyt compounds now that are adjustable from 15 up to I think gosh, I don't know, it's like 50 pounds. It's a huge range, and the draw links go all the way from I think 12 or 13 all the way up to 28. And so these little bows are going to be great. I'm starting with a whisker biscuit and a basic 3-pin sight, and so yeah, we go out, especially this time of year, like everybody in the world. We go out there and we got our deer target set up in the backyard, and usually after dinner we'll go out there and throw a few arrows every night, and they enjoy that a lot, and I do too. So
Are they shooting fingers or releases?
right now we're shooting fingers. I'm ready. I think we're
That
almost
a boy.
but they're fingers kids right now. Yeah.
A lot of games been killed with fingers. I mean, and
Oh,
I never shot a release when I was shooting the compound. I always shot fingers just cause no reason.
right.
I,
No,
I just that's what I did. One less piece of equipment. And that's the biggest thing when I started hunting out west. I wanted to minimize everything because when you're slogging up those mountains, I don't want one other piece of gear that I have to be responsible for.
well, and I agree. Even as simple as it is, I mean, of leaving the dang release in the truck, you may not be going 500 yards out from the farmhouse or from the farm lot you parked in, but you get up and you're standing. I mean, you're up there without a release anymore. You're anymore because people don't know how to shoot fingers very well, so you're kind of out of luck. But yeah, that's definitely something to think about.
Yeah, and that's good. See, land management it's something front and center with you. Let's talk about what you're managing right now, why you think land management is important, and we'll go from there.
Well, I would say it is, and I know it's a limited, especially because it requires private land. So I mean, I was lucky enough and fortunate enough that my I had a family farm in our family for almost 100 years now. So I grew up on that farm and being able to go back and forth, like I said, with my dad, and he really got into planting trees and beginning food plots and all that stuff when I was younger, and so that's been able to not only did I have a certain connection with the land because man, he's passed on now, and I've got memories of working with him on the farm, but also now I'm able to take my kids there and do the same things with them. Like literally last weekend, we were out working up some of our food plots and getting them ready, and then getting our trail cameras out, and so the boys will know, whether that's the big eight or the monster. We start in. Well, it's not always for the biggest deer, or it's just the enjoyment of watching the deer grow, and that's legit. I think there's something to be said for a guy wanting to hold out and have that specific deer, and especially when you're in land management and you're watching your herd and which ones you think are ready, old enough, mature enough to shoot. But we also try to keep it fun. It's my brother and I, and he's got a couple kids and my kids, and we've got my brother-in-law, and so we all kind of have rules for ourselves on what or what not we would consider shooter for an adult. But the kids get there, it's all rules are off, and if the kid wants to shoot a spiker or a doe or a basket rack 6 point. It is what it is, and that's just the way it is. And we do that to make sure we keep it fun and exciting. Because even for us, after a while, it can suck the fun out of it if you're not careful about how you do it. And so we try to balance our goals with also just having a hell of a good time and remembering that deer hunt's supposed to be fun and a family or fellowship activity with brothers or buddies or whatever. And so trying to balance those two and keep that in the forefront is what we're always striving for.
What specific steps have you taken over the last couple of years to improve the habitat on the farm?
We've really started. I especially am getting into the way food plot design, and we it used to be, oh well, we've got that's the straightest best tree we got around, so we'll just kind of figure out what we can do from there. Now I go in and I'm actually trying to architect a little bit how we do it and for our prevailing winds and what we're going to clear, what areas, and then access is our other big thing. That used to be we didn't even think a thing about it, and we just go in there and trump in. That's where you always go to that stand, and that's the way we've always done it, and that's the way you do it. And once we started really paying attention, that man, that may not be the best way to go about that with a west wind, or if you got a south wind, don't be walking in that way. That had dramatic impact on our success of not only killing big deer, but starting to see big deer. Before we, like I said, it's just little things like that that I never thought about and the impact they would have. So the way we design our food plots in relation to how we want to hunt them, if they're going to be a kill plot or if it's just going to be a destination food plot, and then the access in and out have been two things that have really changed our hunting a lot.
Well, you mentioned just a couple of things. One, and I believe you've got a stalker stand, and you have stands specifically set up for specific wind direction. But you also said it's a destination food plot or a kill food plot. What's that? What's the difference of those to you?
At least on our place, we've got varying amounts of cover, and it's been CRP and mixed wood lots for a long time. And like I said, we planted so many trees, literally probably almost 40,000 trees, that they're really starting to grow up really thick. And so we've created what I'd say a destination food plot is we've got a couple that they're not huge, acre and a half, 2 acres, maybe three at the max, where we've gone in and cleared out big areas. And we try to keep those the very interior of our farm to where the deer can go there and feel comfortable. We really don't hunt those. It's not that we stay out of them necessarily, but those are areas where they go in the center area of our farm where they can go in and eat unpressured and get away. And then we've got our kill plots, which are normally often in a thicker area or on the periphery of ours, and they'll be maybe a swimming pool size, a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller, depending on what we can get our equipment into to work. And we keep those really small, really tight, and those are the ones we really watch our access in and out of. And those are more for either staging area for deer to come in and out, or sometimes you'll get your group of does that'll like one or two of those, and then obviously when rut comes around, then we're ready to rock. So
Now, on your kill plots, how many stands do you have?
I would say, on each plot,
Yeah.
we try to at least two stands per plot, and I'd like to be doing more. We recently we're all getting older and fatter, so we've really converted a lot over to ladder stands now and getting away because we can because of the ability to access. I mean, if we were going on public land carrying stuff in, we obviously wouldn't. But right now, we've been converting over to a lot of ladders. And we try to at least have two. Obviously, our predominant wind in our area is generally a west and sometimes a northwest, and so we at least have those covered. and we always try to have one for a south wind, just in case it's a warm year and changing winds.
What kind of crops do you put on these kill plots?
We've been doing a little bit of everything. Some of my favorites is the old basic like Ladino clover. I like that a lot. We'll do a winter wheat. We're doing a lot with Milo this year and seeing how that goes for the cold winter. We've always done turnips, and although I don't really care for them, for some reason our deer love those, and that's always a January, well December, January, February is when they really hammer those, and so it's that's good for that. I'm trying to think what else we've planted recently. We've done a few of the commercial blends and always had good luck with that. But as far as like any one in particular that I love or I think was great, not really. We messed with cowpeas. I'm trying to remember what else. We constantly are experimenting to see what they like and always trying different things.
You know, let's get back to the DirtNap gear and how did that really begin? You said you were looking for things, you're traveling, and let's talk about a little bit more about that company and what that means to you as you hunt going forward.
You bet. It came about just as a love. People love some guys are car guys or whatever it might be. And I've just always been a broadhead nerd. I've loved them and I've always collected them. Frankly, I've got them probably going back to definitely the 50s. I've just always been I enjoy it. And so I started figuring out, I'm like, wow, I really like this and I like this, but I'd like to make it the same weight where you could shoot it, 100 or 125 or 150, 175. And I want something indestructible, but still is going to fly well. And so I literally just sat down on a piece of paper and started scratching different designs out. And then I found, which is our DRT, stands for dead right there, is our basic two blade with a bleeder blade. And it's not a huge deviation from the old threadbare razor head or the two blades you've seen for years. What ours is special on is we've got a design now to where it flies really well even at today's fastest bows. And we've tested it on some crazy fast crossbow setups and it's a fixed blade rod head that flies great and penetrates well and it's tough. We've got a lifetime warranty on it. I mean, that says it right there. If it bends, breaks, or the guy has any problem with it, they send it back to us. We send them a brand new one. So we're that confident that it's a tough head that flies well and penetrates well. So that's our kind of our I would say our prime racehorse is our DRT. Last year we brought out two new variants. We brought out it's called a BMF, stands for both mechanical and fixed, and it's still a fixed blade 1 inch cut. Sorry, the BMF is I'm sorry, the DRT is a 1 1/4, our fixed blade with a bleeder, and then this BMF is 1 inch on the fixed blade, and it's got two swing out blades that that are another inch and a half. And the good thing about them is I've always kind of poked fun at rubber bands or retaining clips. It doesn't have any of that stuff. It's all internal. There's an internal spring and cam system, so there's no rubber bands, no clips, no nothing like that on our hybrid. And then we've also got one more. It's called our shred head, and it's our turkey and small game head, and it looks nasty. The only way I kind of describe it almost looks like a fork you'd put on the end of your bow, and it disables turkeys and small game real quick because it transfers all that energy from your 65-pound bow and just smacks them. So those are the three offerings we have right now. And to get back to your main question is I just found something that they didn't make that I wanted, and to even differentiate it further, we Teflon coat all of our stuff. So your old traditional just black or metal colored broadhead. I mean, we've got them in orange, red, pink, bright green. We've got them in black, and we just we anodize the ferrules a different color, and then we Teflon coat the blades in whatever color it may be, and it really kind of adds a cool factor and sets us apart that a lot of guys really like.
Let's spend a little time and the warm up. We talked about social media and how that's changed the game as far as you placing an ad in Bone Hunter and get some sales off that. And those days are kind of gone. They're still viable. There's still great magazines out there and great advertising, but it seems social media has really let a lot of guys spend with a small budget really reach the audience. What are your thoughts on that?
Bruce, social media has built our company without a doubt. We have been able to take what is, and I mean, if a lot of people were still a new company and we're only starting our fourth year, but social media has just been amazing. We came out of the woodwork immediately, and 2015, we got the Bowhunting World Reader's Choice for Best New Product, and then 2016, we got Best Fixed Blade Broadhead and Best New Product again. And I'm sitting there talking about a magazine awarding us for that, but we'd never run an ad with them. I mean, we were purely so. What I'm getting at is we started on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, and we started getting a few guys out there that like it and they talk about it, and then they talk to everybody about it. And social media has grown it to the point where we're not a big presence. We have 40, probably 45,000 followers on Facebook and maybe 15 to 16,000 on Instagram. But that has allowed us to reach our end consumer and make sure they have a great experience and they can tell their friends so much quicker than it was in the old days of a quarter page or a half page or an eighth page magazine ad in the back of one of the main publications. I mean, it's just our information travels to our guy or gal so much faster now, and they're able to share their success story or communicate with us, and we give them feedback immediately, and that has just changed the game and the way we market. So
Yeah, that go ahead.
I think it's still going to keep going. I don't think we're at the end of it by any means, and I think the way this outdoor industry is business is changing, and the way that marketing. I mean, it's all changing, of course, but it's just it's an exciting time to be where we are getting started with a company like this because it's, like I said, the access to your consumer and making sure they're happy with your product and their feedback is immediate. And we've made design changes based off of it and suggestions, and that's what's so cool about it. You know, you get a guy or a girl calling and say, "Hey, man, I really like this," or "What do you think about? Would you think of changing this?" Or when your next one, this turkey head, what do you think if we made it like this? And we take that stuff, man. We take that information and we make it what people want, and not to get overly hokey about it, but that's the coolest part of this whole thing, man. With social media, instead of just not only wondering, "Oh man, I just spent $3,500 on a quarter page ad in the back of one of the big bow magazines. I don't know if that's going to work or not." We come out with something, and I mean, people immediately will be able to tell the impact. Ooh, this thing's going on fire. I mean, like we had one post 3 weeks ago, Bruce, that was one of our buddies that put a one of our DRT broadheads into a drill press and just started drilling through wood with it, just as a torture test. And that thing went, I don't know, 50,000 people have watched that stinking video now, and it's cool because I mean, it's a drill press. He starts drilling the DRT right through wood. I mean, and it was cool for us because it showed how how awesome and dependable and heavy duty our broadhead is. But it's just something that your social media person was looking at that and smiling, and they only watched for 8 seconds, but they saw my product, they'll remember it, and that magazine ad can't do that for me, you know.
No, I mean that. Just think of the impact.
Yeah,
It's a drill just hammering a piece of wood, and your broadhead spinning away.
yeah, it's bizarre. I mean, but that's the type of stuff that social media is doing for you. So it's just, I mean, I get hokey about it, but it's a great time to be alive because it's the information age and the industrial age and get all nerdy about all that. But we're really at a transition right now where a lot of that's changing. And then as we talked earlier, the negative of that is, unfortunately, a lot of your local archery shops are because guys are buying on Amazon or eBay or direct from consumer anymore. I mean, direct from their producer anymore. So it is tougher to keep those mom and pop shops open. So I do think that's going to be a gap where someone's going to have to get in there and help continue to teach people, and about the basics that we're talking about of paper tuning and getting your bow set up correctly. But the other end of that is that the information travels so quickly that that can be done now. But we're kind of in a little gap right now, I think. So
Let's talk about the rut and why that's a favorite time of the year for you, and you get to hunt multiple states. And so, why do you like hunting the rut?
I guess in our area, and I would define the rut. I guess it would probably be late pre-rut rut. I love personally that. No, probably I got little kids, so I can't do a Halloween hunt. But November 1st through about the 8th, I'm just gone, and that's the office is closed, and we still have one person at DirtNap still sending out orders because we still get some late orders then. But during that time frame, I just love it because you're in that seeking phase, and there's not a lockdown yet, at least in the Kansas City area, and even over into Kansas where I hunt. That's just we kill a lot of big deer then. So I like it because you're finally getting those big guys up on their feet, looking around, and that's the advantage. I know we talked before we came on here of me being able you hunting the same property for a number of years, the same area, and me literally hunting the farm I basically grew up on. It always changes because we have the food plot may change or the maybe some thicket will be hot, bigger this year than it was last year. But overall, you start to get them figured out, and you can almost just really impact it. And it may not be that same deer, but normally big deer like this draw. They've always liked this north end of this brush area, and it's just because they feel safe there. So get the hell out of there and stay. But what I'm getting is I like that time of year because they're finally up and moving, and they're fairly not predictable, but at least on our places, you generally know where your hot spots are going to be.
Yeah, and there's nothing like I love all day sits.
Yeah,
From Halloween. I always want to be sitting and stand someplace in Halloween in the next 4, 5, 6 days, just depending where I am. That's the best time of the year for me because you never know. You just never know what's going to walk by you. You might think you do from trail
right.
cameras and scouting and all the other stuff, but all of a sudden you go, "Oh my goodness, where did you come from?"
That's the best thing because you're right. I mean, I still do run trail cameras, and we got one or two of the new cool cellular trail cameras. But boy, you start to get all that almost took some of the fun out of it for a while. 'Cause you think, oh man, I'm definitely see the big eight. The big eight's gonna. I mean, he's been here. I'm gonna shoot the big eight. And you never see him in daylight. I mean, we go through years and years of this damn two or three deer that we'd never see in person and have boatloads of pictures of. So guys that say, "Oh, trail camera, you can't," that's no, there's not. I mean, that is deer are smart and it is amazing. But yeah, it is. They're a fun tool to use, but it is cool to see what just comes out of the woodwork when that rut starts rolling, and you may see a deer that you've never even seen before coming 3 or 4 miles from your neighbors overnight. So you
And
never
they
know.
do that. And, I'm just going to repeat that 3 or 4 miles overnight.
Yeah.
You never see the guy on the trail camera, and all of a sudden you got one shot at him. If you're in the right place at the right time, you're going to have a shot at him. And
Yep.
after that, he'll disappear because he'll hook back to his core
His
area,
area.
his home range. But
Yep.
it's just amazing. That's the kind of it's a crapshoot because it really, you know, all bets are off, and you just don't know what's going to show up. That's why I like it.
Yeah. Absolutely. 100% agree with that.
Let's wrap up the show with hunting mature bucks and overlooked cover. What does that mean to you?
To me, that we started figuring that out. I would say I mean, my brother and I really kind of started focusing on that about 3 or 4 years ago, and we'd always try to figure out, where these big guys actually at bedding areas and you think you know where they are and we started doing and we got in a rut. I mean, literally where we would hunt like I talked about, oh man, that north side of that woodlot's always been good. We better go over there and we started getting I think the deer started patterning us. So 2 years ago we finally just started leaving some of those ladders we had set up and we'd move either ground blinds, we started using those more, or even put a ladder up and just try new stuff. And as soon as we did that, we uncovered that some of our biggest deer were hiding in some of the dumbest places you'd ever think. And I mean, in our farms, what I mean by that is they may be in a hedgerow next to a county road. I mean, they were 25. One of these bucks was apparently made his home 25 yards off of one of the main gravel roads in our property that was traveled frequently. It was thick enough that he could get in there a little brush pile and not be seen from the road, but he wasn't. It's someplace you'd never in the world would have ever thought about setting a stand. Just a waste of time. And that's what I mean by that. We found more in the last couple of years, more of our big deer in overlooked spots than ever. One of them on the backside of a pond dam, and it's not a super secret spot, or there's no real reason for it other than he feels safe there. And there's never human interaction. He doesn't smell people or he doesn't see people when he's there. And that was his. It still is. He's still alive, but his little secret spot. And it's not a big pond dam, but I guess my whole point in telling you all this was once we started keying in on some random spots, we started figuring out a little where our big bucks were a little bit more. So, because I think they had patterned us as much as we thought we had patterned them. So,
And I would agree to that. And so many times, especially in Wisconsin where I hunt, um, we've been hunting the same farm for I've been on there for over 50 years, and the stands are similar. We always knew where we killed deer. We killed X number off the pallet stand, the point stand. I mean, we got them
yep,
all named, and you kind of get in. And this year I'm changing it all up. How I'm approaching the same stands because the
right,
deer are there. But how I'm approaching that is going to be completely different. And by doing that, I think it'll change it up because they'll go, well, okay, he didn't come up this draw, and then I'll come up over the top and drop down on it or whatever. But I'm going
yep,
to change it up because I there's no question in my mind. They know exactly when I head into the stand, go across the fence, and then climb up to the stand. They
and they go
know
out
it.
there. Yeah,
Well,
yep,
yeah, and
yep,
that's the thing I think about is that within a quarter mile of any of our stands is a huge buck. We took a 180 last year. Garrett took
oof,
during the archery season, but that buck's been living there for 6, 7 years, and he finally just made a mistake.
Yep.
But having said that, at everybody's farm, and listeners hear this, I don't care if where you're at, you have a wall hanger, if that's important to you, less than a quarter mile from you. If you're
Yes.
hunting and you're seeing deer, less than a quarter mile from you, you have a deer that you go, oh my goodness, you would, but you'll never
Yep.
see them.
Exactly. They truly become ninjas. They're so smart and so secretive and careful. Then it's unreal. So,
Well, with that, Tom, thank you so much for spending part of your day and sharing about DirtNap gear, and then sharing about your love for hunting. And it's just been a pleasure to have you on the show. And with that, any last thoughts?
oh, Bruce, I just want to say thanks for having me on and enjoy your podcast. I'm just glad we got the opportunity to do it, and I do want to thank you for getting to talk about this stuff. This is what I love talking about, and I know you do too. And it's just good to get to visit with someone on like minded. And like I said, without being too commercial or cheesy on it, if someone did want to check out our broadheads, that'd be awesome. It's dirtnapgear.com, or look us up on Facebook or Instagram, dirtnapgear, and we'd love to visit with you too. So appreciate your time today, Bruce. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Hey, folks, stay tuned for the next episode, Whitetail Rendezvous. We're going to visit with Chase Bauman. Now, Chase was one of the first 50 people on Whitetail Rendezvous. Now we're over 430 guests and episodes, and so I'm really looking forward to having Chase back on the show and talking about Bound for Blood. Now, Chase and his brother and his friends, they've been Bound for Blood for a couple of years. They kind of took a hiatus, doing a lot more filming for other folks. Now they're going to bring that back. So I can't wait to find out and dig in and find out what Chase is going, because Chase hunts outside the box. He's going to talk about some radical techniques on the show. Stay tuned. It's going to be a good one, folks.
Thanks for joining us. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, where you can listen and learn from the experts so you can be more successful on your next hunt. Until next time, listen, learn, and succeed.